Good morning, good evening, or rather, I should say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Dr. Soul Brother coming on again, who has a remedy to cure your ills. I been away for a few days, but I thought I would check back in and see how everybody's doing and kind of chop it up a bit. I want to discuss something that I think is very serious, and that is while I'm going to mention this youngster's name, this his situation is the same for others, unfortunately, and that is little James Tucker, who has his own channel. As most of us saw recently on social media everywhere, um, he was crestfallen because he saw his mother behaving inappropriately. I'll say that out the gate. Yeah, she was behaving inappropriately, tweaking, twerking in the presence of your child in public or even at home is inappropriate. Twerking with the man you with, that's another story. But that kind of behavior was inappropriate and frankly disrespectful to the child. I know that sounds strange to hear the term disrespect used when talking about children, but just as a child can be disrespectful to an adult, by the same token, an adult can be disrespectful to a child. The way you talk to the child, the way you treat them, etc. People have a tendency to forget, you know, children have feelings, and there're just certain things that you just don't do. Um, if Lil James is listening, or anybody else who's listening and who has a similar story, I want them to know this. Dr. Soul Brother here does not condone that. His mother was wrong for that behavior. And sister, if you're listening, you need to understand this in case nobody has said this to you. Your relationship with people of the opposite sex is oftentimes predicated on your relationship with your parent of the opposite sex. I'm going to say that again. Your relationship with people of the opposite sex oftentimes is predicated on your relationship with your parent of the opposite sex. Now, of course, I said oftentimes because you have exceptions, but generally speaking, that's how that goes. And I'm saying that to say this: your son is 10 years old. That boy's 10. Um, he's wounded by that behavior. Some man bumping up against his mother and carrying on. He didn't like that. He was hurt, disappointed, and angry. And Miss Lady, you got to do better than that. And to all you other mothers out there who have children who behave in inappropriate ways and act disrespectful toward your children, you got to do better than this. See, it was understood in the black community back in the day that there were things you didn't carry on. See, a lot of this inappropriate behavior that we see happening now, while you had that back in the day, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. Why? Because back in the day, we had a social infrastructure in the community. And quite frankly, if you think back to, say, I don't know, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, the elders in the community, and I use that term advisedly because there's some people, I might have said this before on my show. Eldership is not something you get by virtue of your age, it's something that you earn. Period. Anyway, um, when it comes to that kind of a behavior, um, because you had the elders that we had 40, 50 years ago, um, they had standards. And those standards were upheld, and it didn't matter whether you were upper middle class, or lower income. Everybody pretty much had the same standards, and it was understood. Fast forward to now. Um, a lot of folk, many of them, are no longer with us. In other words, they've passed on. They're no longer in the land of living. And so now you have so-called new elders. And many of those so-called new elders, um, they made some changes, but they made changes in their younger years. Well, guess what? Fast forward now, they're now so called elders. And I say so called for a reason, because again, eldership is not something you get by virtue of your age, it's something that you earn. And I think too often we use the term elder loosely. Um, and there's certain codes of behavior and lines of thinking that existed among our elders that we're not getting right now. Because unfortunately, those elders of yesteryear, again, are gone. And with them, um, as they left this earth, I should say, so did those values. Now, what does it have to do with Lil James Tucker and his mother? You know, Dr. Soul Brother took a look. And by the way, pardon my ignorance, but I was not familiar with his channel. I didn't know who he was until this recent controversy. And you see, his mother got dragged on social media over this, and rightly so. Because again, she was wrong for that. And if you're listening, sister, you were wrong for that. And you need to apologize to your son profusely and try to course correct before it's too late. And any of the other mothers out there who think that kind of stuff is hip and cool, no, it ain't. You need to course correct before it's too late. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is I hope to God this doesn't happen, but what's going to happen is he's going to grow up with a very negative outlook as it relates to women, black women in particular, or maybe black women specifically. Okay, because see, let's understand something. Because we live in a space, a society, in a world that is riddled with anti-blackness, anti-black behavior, outlook, etc., it's easy for that to happen with our boys and with our girls too, by extension, as it relates to anti-blackness, because a lot of people don't understand the anti-black sentiment that comes from white society. That lays dormant in the psyche of a lot of black folk, and it's laying dormant, and it manifests itself, you know, in ways that we don't fully understand, and it's conscious or subconsciously. Well, the thing is this: as I said it. I said, let me check out this boy's channel, and I have to say, Lil James is a bright kid, very bright, and he has some wisdom. I looked at some older footage when he was much younger. He was a little boy. It looked like he could have been 3, maybe 4, and very bright. And what Dr. Soul Brother fears that his mother's behavior, inappropriate behavior, the other day, is going to extinguish some things in his psyche. And if that happens, she would have done that. And I'm saying that to say this: the same thing goes for some of these other women who are of like minds. Okay, and because it was clear at that reception or whatever the event was, where everybody was suited and booted, um, there were some women who were cackling like a bunch of hyenas and thought that stuff was funny, and didn't feel nothing for him, including his mother. That's a problem. But I must say, I did see in some of the comments section um, on YouTube with some of the people's responses that it was clear by their responses that behavior was a bridge too far. Okay, it was a bridge too far. I mean, where do we draw the line? Well, clearly, some people, and that was good to know because, we've gotten so far away from certain standards and all that that it was heartwarming, if you will, to see that people were giving pushback, and rightly so. You can't. That kind of stuff is indefensible. Period. I don't care what we say. I mean, I could tell you stories about some people I know personally who went through some stuff with their family members, with their mothers, etc., that would make your hair stand up. But I'm not going to go into that right now. But that's part of the reason why this whole thing resonates with me because of some people I know who, to this day, and these men are full-grown men and have mommy issues because stuff that went down during their childhood has yet to be resolved. And I see how that has had an impact on them in terms of their relationship with women, which again goes back to what I said at the beginning. Oftentimes, um, your relationship with folk of the opposite sex is predicated on your relationship with your parent of the opposite sex. That's how that goes. Then when you add black to the mix, that automatically takes it to another level. Other words, if that can have an effect on other groups, which it does and can, and will, you know what it does with us. Anything that's negative when it comes to black folk, it's tenfold, tenfold. That's what we're not understanding. But anyway, let me move on. I just wanted to hop on here and address it because that I was greatly troubled by that, greatly troubled by that. And that just wasn't cool. That wasn't cool at all. And sister, if you are listening, um, you need to apologize to your son profusely because you were wrong for that. And I'll say this for little man there, little James, it's gonna be all right. And I would encourage you, young brother, to subscribe to my channel. In fact, I'll be subscribing to your channel. And if anybody knows him, please tell him to reach out to Dr. Soul Brother here. 'Cause I'd really like to have a conversation with him. And we need to rally around and take under our wings those of us who have good intentions, uh, children like him. Because trust and believe, unfortunately, there are many others. And unfortunately, there are grown people, grown men who have similar experiences that they could relate to. They could relate to him. Why they could relate to him because of their similar experiences. And I think it needs to be noted. Let me make this abundantly clear. What I'm about to say. I know that there's a push now to attack hip hop and rap music and all of that. And there's some parts of rap that is negative, but I just find it interesting that we're now at in a space where there's a move to try to um, claim or reclaim um, hip hop as Black American and all that, and then you have this people talking about hip hop is dangerous, hip hop is bad, and all this kind of stuff. When you know when it comes to hip hop is more than just rap. Hip hop is graffiti. Hip hop is what's the other one? Break dancing, etc. So Black Americans are trying to reclaim hip hop, and yet people want to go full force in an attack on hip hop. I just find that interesting. But the reason I bring that up is to say this: when you start talking about things like gangster rap that took place in mid to late 80s going into the 90s, throughout the 90s, and you had groups like NWA, Dr. Dre, and a bunch of others, and they had lyrics that were frankly jacked up, you know. And when you hear their outlook, the lyrical content reflect a negative outlook as it related to women. I want the audience to think about something. Have you ever thought about the possibility that the motivation behind those lyrics of some of those songs that were negative towards women had to do with the relationship, jacked up relationship they had with their mother? See, I can see somebody who, let's say, grew up like this young boy, grows up and becomes embittered towards women and has a negative outlook when it comes towards women, and he goes and becomes a rapper and uh, uh, talks about women like a dog in his lyrics. This is what happens when there's no intervention. Well, intervention is what Lil James needs right now. Because trust and believe, he represents the walking wounded. He's wounded right now, wounded. And um, no young boy would want to see his mother carrying on. I know I wouldn't have. When I was his age, there's no way I would have wanted to see my mother carry on. Well, she wouldn't. But I'm saying there's no way on God's green earth I would have wanted to see my mother carry on like that. You see? And so, which shows she had no respect for him at all, none. And truth be told, she had no respect for herself. But no, this youngster here, he needs our support. Reach out to him. Anybody who knows him, tell him to subscribe. Encourage him rather to subscribe to my channel. And if you're listening, Lil James, please subscribe to my channel. And I just wanted to hop on here and address that because it really, really bothered me. It really did. And I think it's something that um, as a community, as a people. We got to get it together because this, um, if we don't, we're not gonna make it. I'm convinced that that this is our last chance to get it right, and if we don't get things right, there's no coming back after this. I mean, you know, God bless them. You know, you got people who talk about SAT scores and college enrollment and earning degrees, be they undergraduate or graduate degrees, and black economic empowerment. And I support all of those things. All those things are important, and all that's well and good. But at the same time, if our moral compass is jacked up, all that's for naught. And I'm telling you, the way we're going right now, this ship is sinking. It's further and further into quicksand. That's what's happening. And unfortunately, we're at a point where our black intelligentsia has turned out to be a disappointment because they fail. They fail because they refuse, absolutely refuse, to address these kinds of things. So I would love for people to engage me. Um, please let me know how I can get my show where we can have a conversation. Like, drop a link or something on how Dr. Soul Brother can engage people and have people on, let's say, during a Q&A, because that's one of the things I look forward to is engaging people. I don't want to be a situation I'm just running my mouth. I want to be able to engage folk, you know, and talk to me. We can chop it up about these kind of things. This is important. It really is. And but no, we had a social infrastructure back in the day that we don't have right now. And because we don't have it, this is why. See, if we had a social infrastructure like we did back in the day, there would have been some elder sisters who would have gotten on his mama's case. I can tell you that right now. There's no way she would have been able to carry on like that. First of all, I doubt seriously if she would have tried to do that. Okay? But you have to look at some of the see what I'm suggesting is all this didn't happen in a vacuum. Nothing happens in a vacuum, really. You know. So, but please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Please comment on what I've talked about, what I've talked about in the past, what I'm talking about right now, um, and I want to see people commenting. And like I said, let me know about a link I can use where I can have Q&A and engage people. I'm looking forward to that. That's one of the things I want to change with my show. I enjoy um, talking to everybody, but I want to be able to engage people, see what your thoughts are. Which, I mean, the comments are nice and all, but I want to be able to engage people. So Dr. Soul Brother is going to sign off right now, and as always, God bless.